Ciao! Welcome back to a new video. Guys, be sure to hit the like button. We're doing a giveaway in this video at 500 likes, so don't forget to hit the like button. Also, with that being said, there are a few parts to this video. The first part is, I'm going to give you all the facts and what could happen, and then I'm going to give you what I think is actually going to happen in the story leading up to Black Clover Chapter 300. Now remember, as always, this is just a theory, so if you get mad, stay mad, Omega lol. With that said, smash the like button. Let's just jump straight into it. Okay, jumping right into it, as we all know, Chapter 300 is slowly but surely approaching. This week's Black Clover Chapter is on break, but next week we will reach the big Chapter 296, and we expect it to be Noelle versus Vonica. Noelle, having casted her Spirit Dive Saint Valkyrie dress, has ascended godhood. Now we're going to be talking about Noelle in the future with a Noelle video and how Saint Dive was actually very cleverly foreshadowed by Yuki Tabata and the anime team of Tatsuya Yoshihara. So be sure to hit the like button, subscribe for that future video. But anyway, if the fights with Noelle follows the same pattern of fights of Magna versus Dante, Yuki Tabata is rushing through these fights. So just like Dante, the Vonica fight should theoretically last only 3 chapters, being Chapter 295, 296, and 297. Then chapters 298 and 299, and finally leading up to the big 300 is going to be Yuno versus Zenon. Now again, you got to remember, Yuki Tabata is a wild man. He can do whatever he wants and pleases to. And recently, he has been really killing all of my predictions. But no worries, we press on because of your support, so be sure to hit the like button. Anyway, the point I'm attempting to make here is quite simple. So far, we've had overwhelmingly victory. Magna, against all odds, united the full limits of his power and obliterated Dante. With the help of Undine and Noelle's vast amount of magic power that even far surpasses the man, the myth, the legend, the Wizard King Julius Novachrono, Noelle in 3 days learned Saint Spirit Dive, and my guesses are she is going to obliterate Vonica. Now, if all 3 fights, including Yuno, are victories, then it's over. The gate of the underworld closes without even having had time to open. Only Lilith and Nahama would have escaped, and well, you know, that's sort of anticlimactic. Now, this would also go exactly like I've predicted, with Morris actually having found a way to completely remove the Dark Triad from the equation. And if you have not checked that out, go check out my Morris is the final villain video. Now anyway, so let's discuss the Dark Triad. Out of the 3, Vonica is the most important to defeat, since Megicula links back with Noelle and Nozel and their mother, but arguably, this whole Spade arc has been about Yuno and how the Golden Dawn were massacred. And if you think about it, like it was Zenon that captured Yami. So obviously Asta has a bone pun intended, to pick with Zenon. Now, looking at Yuno versus Zenon, their fight is a problem. Unlike Noelle's current water spirit Undine, Belle has been asleep for a good few centuries, and it's obvious she has no idea about Saint Dive, so Yuno most likely, even with Boris, has no real way of defeating Zenon. They need someone arcane. Now obviously the Black Bulls have arrived, so they can get help, but let's look at this differently. What if, once again, Yuno realizes that he still cannot defeat Zenon, especially now that he's at 70%, and by the time Asta arrives, Yuno is dealt a big physical attack that leaves him super injured. Now you might think this is impossible, but we go back to the video I talked about from a very long time ago. In that video, I showed you Yuki Tabata interview in which he told his own editor his original plan was that Yuno was scheduled to die in the story within the first 7 chapters. Now, obviously, this never happened. Yuno survived. So what if Yuki Tabata just changed the timeline for later into the Spade arc for this moment. Now let's stop there. I don't think Yuno is going to die. He might again. Tobita is a madman. I cannot predict this manga anymore. But what if Yuno is dealt a big damaging blow and in the nick of time, Asta arrives? Let's look at this logically. The Yuno fight will take us into chapter 300, and chapter 300 without the main character of the story, Asta, would feel kind of weird. So I expect in some way, as much as I want the Asta and Noel reunion, I expect Asta to actually first in his path head towards Yuno. Asta will arrive in the nick of time to save Yuno's life, and seeing his best friend, his brother-in-arms, basically injured or dying or struggling, I believe chapter 300 is the first ever time we are going to see the long-awaited shonen manga main character protagonist rage moment. A shonen manga main character protagonist rage moment is the most important moment of a shonen MC manga's main life. It usually happens around the chapter 300 to 500 mark, and it's hype. For example, Fairy Tail Rage moment was the Tower of Heaven arc, where Natsu activated Dragon Force for the first time. In My Hero Academia, it just occurred around chapter 290 with Deku vs Shigaraki. Now, some would argue Asta already had a Rage moment. What the fuck? But no, you would be wrong. Asta has not had a rage moment. That was Libe's rage activated and taking over Asta's body. Asta so far in this story has not had a proper rage moment. So this could be what we are in store with chapter 300. Looking back at chapters 100 and 200, they were also very big story moments. Chapter 200 was the chapter Asta broke Patry out of his rage moment and restored his mind as a dark elf. Chapter 100 was even more gruesome. In chapter 100, the Witch Queen took over Asta's mind and made Asta kill the Black Bulls. In a certain panel, Asta chopped off Noel's head. A lot of people don't actually remember how dark the Witch's Forest arc actually was. Obviously, in that moment, Vanessa had activated her red strings of fate, so the Black Bull member survived. Chapter 100 was still extremely brutal. Another factor proving my point for this theory that something will happen between Asta and Yuno in chapter 300 was the recent Black Clover art exhibition, where Asta and Yuno were shown broken and damaged, further proving my theory. But at the end of the day, that's just an art exhibition. There's not much else evidence to show something big is actually happening. So moving forward, the Vonica fight will end very shortly. The Yuno vs Zenon fight will start, and I have big doubts that it will end peacefully and in 3 chapters. But then again, anything is possible. Yuki Tobita is a madman, and I'm extremely excited to see what happens in the future of Black Clover going forward. Even past this arc, I am simply excited. The story of Black Clover is fascinating to me as a YouTuber, and if you guys want to follow my journey on this path, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe. My name is Shimi, as always. Peace!